Yes.
Okay, good evening. I am Chairman Willie Sharp, Chairman of the Blackfeet Nation, Chairman of the Blackfeet Tribal Business Council. I come to you today, this evening, to just enlighten you about a situation that has been described as something never witnessed, and I must admit that it is something that probably has never been seen before, and as mentioned in my writings and in my talks. The situation with regards to the Blackfeet Tribal Business Council is one that has been a hindrance in what I feel was an injustice to several members on the Blackfeet Tribal Business Council because of their actions in regards to their conduct or words interpreted last year in August of 2012. I say this because at the time I believe that a lot of the personal feelings was dealt into a meeting that happened in the chambers, and a lot of things were said and mentioned. But again, as leaders, we enter the public office to render service to the people, and with it comes all different kinds of the joys, the difficulties, the criticism. And so with that, it is understood that, as public officials, in our case, tribal officials, that's to be expected. Now I'm speaking here because after the new year into 2013, I began to see that, and I was questioned many times on my trips to D.C., what was going to be resolved with the Blackfeet Tribal Business Council with only the 5 members, and then accordingly, but that's debated the 6th member. So I'd always was posed with this question, and I thought that as Blackfeet people, we say we're honorable and we are a mighty nation, which we are, in historical times, and we continue to do that and push forth. We have a lot of our members that excel in different areas, that go out into the world and come back, and some that make their mark, in a way that brings attention to the Blackfeet. And I say, with the continuation and the issue with the 3 council members, McEvers, Paul McEvers, Old Chief, William Old Chief, Little Dog, Cheryl Little Dog. And so, being a leader, in a way, as people describe, and people describe amongst ourselves, at what point do you decide that something is good for the better? In a way of, in our teachings that we all, I'm saying, amongst the people, that some people attend different faiths or beliefs, but it's always understood that we're people of a nature that we look to the higher power, the spirituality with that, and to being a person in regards to how we look at ourselves. And so my thoughts of our fellow human beings, and in this case my fellow colleague council members, Old Chief and McEvers and Little Dog, that I proposed an idea to at least begin to see if that we can reconcile and bring back our fellow members, which they were duly elected. But I was met with hesitation and no response. So again, I advocated individually to several members, and most recently the issue with Cheryl Little Dog's traditional court. I know that Mr. Oldperson had indicated that in one of our meetings there would be no harm, and I concurred with him. So then why were other members of the tribal council dictating on why we shouldn't? So in a sense, there was no path for her to be heard. And I might add, to be only fair, to hear her side, and to let it be known. As Mr. Oldperson says, it's not going to hurt nobody. So those were his exact words. And again, fingers are being pointed on both sides of this issue. And to discuss the issue of reconciliation, we've reached out many times to the council members that are occupying the casino, which is a business. Now, in our documents, it says that the headquarters is a place of business and where people are to meet and conduct the affairs for the Blackfeet tribe. And that's what we envision. I know that many people have discussed the issue of actions that I've taken. But I believe, and I firmly believe, and I stand by my decision to allow the persons back. And I mentioned that it will probably be debated for years to come in many different fashions on what I did. But again, how are we going to reconcile and strengthen our tribe as a united tribal council for the betterment of our people and our nation and our affairs? It is said that I myself am looking for power and such. I say not. I know the use of a power and the position as it entails. My schooling, my background, I have a degree from institutions, Haskell, BCC. I have a BA from the University of Montana in teaching. I have a Master's of Education from Montana State University, and I have 3 endorsements. I have a CADA 8 principal, I have a 6 through 12 endorsement, and I have a superintendent's endorsement. And my field there was in leadership, and so I led a school, Browning Middle School, for many years. And then I know the duties and the obligations and the difficulties of leading such an institution, but I did so to the very best of my ability for what the school board entailed and envisioned of me and my duties. I executed them without hesitation with regard to the outside forces. I did what I was told to do, and then as such, it brings criticism, damnation, and could also bring praise. And so I did it in that manner professionally as the best I could. So having been elected onto the council later in 2006, I saw an institution that was very loose in its organization and the principles and the laws that governed it and how it was guided by different factions of people. I saw little empires built up here and there, and it was very hard to deal with because some of the people had been there for years and they bragged about it. They'd been there for many council members and they were going to continue to stay there. But what we saw was an abuse of a system by a small faction that I began to notice and take notice, and other council members began to take notice. So we began to take these issues at hand and deal with them. As I put it, stopping the bleeding, the financial bleeding. And people might not agree, but the resolutions we put in 2006 as a council actually halted the flow of the misuse, mismanagement. And so there were no mechanisms other than the council to deal with them directly. And so it was an attempt to bring about the changes, I guess, what people envisioned. And so doing the job that we did, elected, and all that it entails. In some of the years, I remember they were rocky. There's, as councils, they do, have their differences. And it's always been worked out in such a way that it restored our stability. But with the most recent one, with the suspensions over a few hurt feelings, I should say, of my fellow council members that took it personally and began to quest to rid what they term a cancer. In that term, cancer means an elimination of something. And to put it forth, in that manner is, I've heard honor and dishonor. In my thought process is that these people were human beings and they were elected by a body of people. And so in comparison to them and their election triumph, being elected in 2012, they had aspirations and dreams of doing things, for the people, but I believe were stifled. And as a young council, having come in 2006, I saw the need to have an orientation, have the new council know what all involves, so in service in them. But it never happened. And so they were put off, and so their growth was stunted as leaders at that time. And I might say they fought very valiantly in a difficult path that they took, each of them. And I admire their tenacity and the continuation of them to stand up for what's right and continue to advocate. And again, as all of us, we all have our supporters and, people that for other reasons are maybe not support you, but, we still are at this elevated focal point as leaders. So recently, as I mentioned, the issue of pay and a lot of different entities of being in a financial part begin to arise. We put forth an honest effort to reach out to our fellow council members, O'Share, Running Crane, Old Person, and Gardapi. Many times I've had many memos. I've sat down with the superintendent. I've sat down with other elders. And like it's said across the other side, they reached out too. But because of the differences, maybe it would never come to that. But I propose many names to be a mediator or traditional elders with the working of the government, as a way, as a means. I'm not saying that's the way, because we got to sit down and present our ideas together. But for the good of the people, our concern is for their financial hardships and their livelihood. So again, that is what we're about. We're moving forward to try and help that in a way, but other things got thrown in the mix of the whole thing. People begin to take things personally. And so it was mentioned about myself and my involvement, my fellow council member, and with this and that. And it's very degrading and very sad to see a media used as a propaganda front. It goes both ways. And so I myself, again, had also made a comment in my recent article on Mr. Old Person. I have his recording. I will show it to you if you would like to. I and my fellow council member, Mr. McEvers, was present that day in 2008. And so it causes you to wonder, when a leader makes that point that they spent 40 years, I know we all try to help our people, but to put it that way, then it makes you wonder, like, bending the rules for what? As I mentioned, looking the other way, disregarding our documents, our laws, policies, regulations, or simply not doing anything at all, and to let the course of something go on till it's too late. And I myself don't like to, hurt people, or, as it's put by our Mr. Old Person and the others. We certainly don't like to, but at some point we have to. And now let's go back to the credit case, which Mr. Old Person and Mr. Running Crane championed. And so they started the internal affairs idea. When I became chairman in 2008, I was handed a document. And in that document, it contained some of my relatives. But as a leader, in trying to look after our tribe's best interests and our assets, and for the betterment of the people, and cleaning up corruption, I didn't interfere. It went on. My relatives were in court. They were dealt with accordingly. And so that was my stand. It was hard. But I did not jump in there and, like I've seen the other council members, and I've challenged them in meetings to take the course that I've done. You know, it's hard, but when you start interfering, then it becomes another matter that sets us back in our role and responsibility as leaders. I'm sure that everybody knows the oath of office and what it entails, but that becomes kind of a second backseat matter, because everybody starts again looking out, and that's the way it is. And so the use of the power in a way can be welded to make good things change and to bring about positive changes for our reservation. But what I saw, I was not going with that course. And I knew in my heart that Mr. McEvers, Mr. Old Chief, and Miss Little Dog would never come back. For whatever reason or motive that my fellow council members that are holed up in the casino had, that thought was never going to be a reality. And so I challenge those members to look at the good side of how the reservation can be reconciled and move forward, and once again reestablish our prominence in the world, globally, nationally, regionally, and locally. And the future leaders, I say to you, don't be afraid to stand up for something if you see something wrong. There's a saying, if you see something, say something. Act. Don't become a party by somebody hijacking your emotions or telling you a story. You know, we have all been there. And when I was a principal at the school many years ago, I would tell kids, don't let other people influence you. Don't let other people hijack your emotions or your thoughts with drummed up stories or fears. And so I say to the other council members that are at the casino, don't be fearful of those that are amidst you, that are around you, that threaten you, that bully you. And bullying is a topic that's in the world now as a concept, and helping to deal with things that everybody blames. How could this happen? How could this take place? Why was it allowed? And so, stand up. I challenge you, Mr. Old Person, Mr. Running Crane, Mr. Gardapi, to stand up and come forward. I've opened the door many times. I've wrote letters. You know my letters. You know where I'm at. And I say, when people say they contact me, I would like to be contacted by the council members, not your administrative assistants. Therefore, I would like to set the record straight. Yes, we are willing to talk to you. But again, that may not happen because of your differences with the side. And so to the people, I say, it all falls to all of us. They say it takes a whole camp to raise one individual. Well, it takes a whole camp to support one individual. So there are many different leaders there, and each camp has to support them and encourage them to do what's best in the interest of the Blackfeet people and the nation. So again, I know that this time is critical. We are trying to work through and accommodate the people. Our doors are open to come and sign. And let's begin this healing process of reconciliation, to let the waters flow under the bridge, so to speak, and not let our words be like leaves in the wind that blow. We say them, they blow out, and they just go away. Let's stick to the path. And together we form a better reservation for the people, our young people that are going to be leaders, that are going to be taking the role of in the challenges that present if they decide to take that path, which I encourage, because we should all be involved. So again, I say this, we need to look for the people and take care of the people. Thank you.